Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hot Topics, the show, the podcast where we inspire, create, and
Transform.
transform. This is Gloria Goldberg, the founder of the podcast Unbreakable Life with Glory, where I talk about depression, anxiety, PTSD, a natural way, in a holistic way to always make you feel better. And next to me, like always, my beautiful co host, Kia Baker.
Hi. Well, you probably know me by now, but if you don't, I'm Kia Baker. I am the creator and host of the Female Veterans Podcast, Women Warrior Stories for the Veterans Channel. You can see that at theveteranschannel.com. And success coach at London Real Academy, where I have the distinct honor and privilege of working alongside my friend Brian Rose, who is running for Mayor of London. And so, if you don't know that and you live in London, hurry and go check it out so that you know who the best man to cast your vote is for. So, Gloria, it's the
Wow.
holidays already.
Did London Real pay you for that?
They should pay me, okay?
Right?
But you know what? I love to promote my friends, and Brian, I consider a friend. I mean, we haven't seen each other in almost a year,
A year.
but I think I can still consider him a friend because I technically see him virtually every single week,
Right.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, actually, Brian, so you don't have to pay me for that endorsement, but we're going to invite you on to Hot Topics. And in
Yeah.
fact, I got an email from Brian the day before yesterday and telling us thank you for promoting him on Hot Topics. I thought I should
Wow.
share that with you today.
That's
Considering,
awesome.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Considering that yesterday 11/24 was our official 1 year anniversary of Hot Topics Live. It was our very first episode, the episode on fibromyalgia. So if you suffer with chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, go to our Hot Topics Live Facebook page, and it's one of our premiere episodes, so it's at the top. And you can watch that episode and find out what both Gloria and I do to manage our fibromyalgia. So we can do stuff like this and not be in bed all day, like our body would have us do if we didn't manage it the way we do. So we want to help. Check it out.
Kia, doing podcasting, this is honest. I have 1 year that I don't have that heavy symptoms of fibromyalgia. And it's because I'm healing and I'm producing all the shows that it keep me busy and with a spirit, like a spiritual very high and healthy, that I think those pains sometimes goes away in that way. So 1 year from today, I feel like amazing. I feel more healed in my body about fibromyalgia.
That's wonderful. I feel great too. I've been doing a lot of stuff this last year. I have been almost legitimately nonstop. So, and that is something that a girl who spent almost 10 years in bed, nearly almost every day, really struggling with illnesses and ultimately having to have a kidney removed, to feel so good and feel so healthy with my little one kidney and my shows. Just it's something I think like serotonin, like it's like a
Yes.
dopamine hit or
Yes.
serotonin rush that keeps you uplifted and keeps you happy. And so it makes it easier. Hi, Angeline.
Hi,
Hi, girl. Hey, girl. Hey,
Angeline!
hey, New York.
And happy Thanksgiving for you
Oh, thank you. To you too. To
too.
you too, honey. We need to catch up soon.
She
I see
said
you doing big things.
she said that will be a great interview. Yes, today is gonna be a great interview.
Oh, yeah, girl. Yes. So
So
we.
he so who is
Julie.
in the house?
Oh, hi, sweetie. Okay, if you guys don't know Julian, he's our spiritual guide and
Right.
he's incredible. I don't know what I would do without Julian at this
Me
point.
too.
It's getting harder because now I talk to him less and I'm more on my own, which is good, which means I'm growing, I'm
Right.
improving, but I just miss him.
Me
Can you just
too.
pay to hang out? Or
Exactly.
or let's just hang out.
They should pay to us to hang out with us.
Great. When are we going to get paid to get hung out with?
Exactly. Hey,
Hi,
Jorge.
George.
He's from Argentina,
Oh, shout out to Argentina.
and he speaks both languages, and he also
Wow.
helps to learn Spanish and learn English to other people that don't know.
Oh, I need to learn Spanish, honey.
He's a
Okay.
teacher. He's a teacher.
Oh, we have to connect. All right. So before we go any further, saying hi to everyone who visited,
Yeah.
hi, anyone we missed, we are going to bring in our guest. And so let me tell you about this guy. Okay. First of all, he is someone that I met through London Real because, it affords me an opportunity to meet incredible, amazing people doing really big things all around the world. Right. And so this guy, Keelan, he has such a powerful story. I'm not going to tell it because I want him to tell it. But what ultimately happened was he created this organization called Going the Ultra Mile, which is a media company. But he's run all these races for charity, right?
Mhm.
He's connected with Wim and Marcel Hoff. He just does extraordinary things. Every time I talk to him, he's doing something else major around the world. Look, okay, I'm going to just look at his bio really quick and run down some of the things that he's done for you guys. He's prior military. I don't want to forget that because that's probably the most important of all of those things to me personally. But he's prior military for Ireland, Navy, French Foreign Legion. I mean, we have to give that a pause because do you understand the French Foreign Legion is so major? Okay. so I mean, oh my gosh.
I'm gonna have a cheer for them.
You're going to, okay, here we go.
Here we go. Cheer.
Cheer. Meanwhile, also, it was nine separate 100-mile courses over 9 weeks to raise money for charity. Okay. Incredible stamina on this guy. It's crazy. And he's a successful entrepreneur. He's a podcast host.
Right.
And one of my favorite things about him, probably hands down my favorite thing, is that he's a dad and a good one.
Wow.
His son is so cute.
If we get one shot for everything he done,
we'll be so drunk. Okay. So why didn't we have that get started?
Yeah.
Anyway, seriously, he's really successful. And actually he made London Real history by, I won't tell you how much he made during London Real, but he made a great deal, we'll say.
Wow.
During London Real.
Awesome.
And during his business accelerator course.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's a Hall of Famer. So without further ado, I hope I did him justice. He's an incredible human, and you're going to get to meet him right now. His name is Keelan Harrington.
Hey, Keelan.
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. How are you?
I'm really good. I appreciate the introduction. Even I listened to it and sounded, I was like, hey, that guy sounds cool.
I've done my job.
So, yeah.
Do you want to meet him,
thank
right?
you. I appreciate it.
The introduction was so good that you want to meet him.
Yeah. It was so good. I want to meet him. And then I realized, they're talking about me. I was like, no, but thank you. That was really nice. And I appreciate it. It was a lovely introduction. And thanks for asking me on.
Keelan, thank you to be in Hot Topics today. And I want you to tell all the audience, where's your location and what time is now?
Right now, I'm in Ireland. So the time is 2000. And when Kia and I first connected, I was in Australia, where it would be 4 a.m. now if I was still there. So I've done a lot of traveling across different parts of the world since Kia and I first connected.
Wow. So, Keelan, tell us a little bit about you.
Um, well, bullet points. I'm a blacksmith by trade, actually. So I specialized in shoeing horses, and I did that for 15 years. But that was a job I did out of necessity after my father went to hospital, and we had to close our horse riding school, and then that's what I did to make money. So that was something I did for quite a long time, up until January of 2020. I always kept it going as a trade. As Kia touched on, I've dabbled with the military here and there. Um, I say very openly, though, I don't consider myself a soldier by heart. You know, some people like Jocko Willink are born into this mindset of being a soldier, and then they write their books. And you know, I'm not that kind of a guy. It was chapters and phases of my life for different reasons, and what I ultimately recognized as mechanisms. But then, yeah, I went on. I competed in strongman for a while. So I competed in Ireland's Strongest Man for 9 years in the finals. Martial arts background, and then a lot of traveling and doing those various sports and disciplines. I've connected with some amazing people all over the world, and that's taken me on all sorts of different adventures. And I've connected with what I consider some of the most brilliant minds on the planet. And then I did the 900-mile run last year, and that brought me to Australia. And then, you know, COVID closed the borders, and Keelan was on a beach, you know, pretty much living out of a tent, going, okay, what do we do now? And I crossed paths with London Real, and that's how myself and Kia touched base. And then I turned what I had into a business, and yeah, the rest is kind of history, and here we are. So I hope that gives you some context, and you can dial in and ask whatever you want, wherever you'd like me to pick up on it.
That is awesome. So, tell me about the extra mile.
Yeah, so I called the company Going the Ultra Mile. So I punted off that exact term. You know, we all familiar with going the extra mile. So I guess Ultra Mile derived from the fact that I ran the ultra marathons. So that was something I decided to do. I just got back from the lesion. My stepfather passed away. 4 days later, my Down syndrome brother had to go for heart surgery, and that event was significant because it had happened almost a decade earlier as well. And the unique part about the surgery was Dutch is the native language in my home house, so I speak fluent Dutch. And even though my brother was under anesthetic, he had an anxiety of lying flat in his back. So I was in the surgery theater as they were performing the heart surgery, holding his hand, keeping him calm. And that was unique because, you know, it's not every day you're inside the surgery watching your brother having surgery performed on him there while it's happening. And it happened 10 years earlier, and it happened 10 years later. So they were like reflective points for me to look at in my life. And I guess it'd be fair to say I wasn't where I thought I'd be, and there was room for improvement. So I opened my phone up in the hospital. I'm sitting inside in the lounge, and this podcast pops up on YouTube, and it's Brian Rose London Real with David Goggins. So I opened it up and I press play, and I hear Brian introducing David Goggins, and I kind of hear the background, and I watch the podcast, and I guess I resonated to David's background story. It's similar to my own, and he was a man that had achieved some success further down the path that I found myself on. So it was like a bit of a light in a dark tunnel for me, because that point in my life was, I guess, turbulent would be a fair way to say. So I was like, okay, you know, what did he do? He was running. Cool, I hate running. I understand the mindset, why he did it. I'll go running. And I undertook the idea to run 9 consecutive 100-mile ultra marathons, which actually turned out to be slightly different. So I ran 7 consecutive ones back to back, which were 100 milers, and I ran for an average running time of, I think it was 23 hours, up to 27 hours, I think was the longest one. And then I ran 200 miles in one go on week 8, and I ran for 46 hours and 35 minutes. So I rounded up to 900 miles in 8 weeks. And that gave birth I think, to a very different person now. Still work in progress, but it definitely set the tone of all the opportunities that came. It opened up Australia. It actually connected me to my partner now, who's a woman from 17 years earlier in my life. A newspaper article went around the internet and landed in Australia. And she was like, this can't be the same guy. And she dropped me a message, and that's how we connected. And it brought me to London Real, and it just, yeah, there came going the ultra mile, and it developed now into like this media company. And the tagline and the brand essence that it sits under is going the ultra mile, right by your side, helping conquer the impossible in business and in life. And I think it embodies and explains everything that we do, from, you know, the web pages, copywriting, autoresponders, media campaigns, as well as my own athletic endeavors that I still continue to do and have upcoming over the next 2 years. So that gives a bit of background to the ultra mile.
Now I understand why.
Wow.
Yeah. Context.
That's a lot. So, Keelan, you mentioned that, and we talked about this before. You mentioned that you had been on the beach in Australia, and you sort of got stuck in Australia when COVID happened, right? Will
Yeah.
you tell us more
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. So when it all got started, like many, I guess there was no clear insight as to how deep the rabbit hole was going to go. And I was scheduled for a flight back. I think it was about a week, or no, I'm wrong. I think I had like 48 hours until my flight was scheduled. And I was sitting there going, how are we going to manage? Because everything was kind of going upside down. You know, borders are said to be closed and just everything. And one of the events I was in Australia for was cancelled. And we had to move out of the house we were in because the couple we were renting the house from were on a tour around Australia, and they had to cut it short because of COVID. The borders were being closed. So we were literally kind of on the beach, living out of a tent, which you can do in Australia. You know, it's pretty nice over there. And we're going, oh man, what are we going to do? And I played a form of Russian roulette. I spent what was at the time either my ticket money home to go home earlier, which by the way was ridiculously expensive at that stage to change it. I think it was in the thousands. Or it was embark on the journey of London Real. So yeah, my partner was like, hey, where are you going? I was like, I'm going to go to the car. And I signed up and I made my introduction vlog video. And when it was like, hey, we need to go shopping, it's like, yeah, we don't have money for shopping. I did something. So that's kind of how that went. Yeah. So that was me rolling the dice. So kind of what I've said to people before, as I've connected with you all now and the various London Real crew, I probably should never have qualified to go through the program under the terms and conditions that you would want someone to be in terms of mental, physical, emotional, financial positioning to achieve it. You know, I really put it all on, you know, black 24. It's like, this has to work. But it was the best decision I made because it started that whole transformational journey I've been on. So that was the start anyway.
Wow, that was amazing how things can make you react and put all the power that we have inside of us that we don't use it. The power that we use, the energy we use is very minimum when we know that we can use the ultra mile, the ultra energy that we have to do anything we want.
Well, I guess it reminded me of an expression, which is necessity is the mother of all inventions, you know?
Yes.
And I guess my thing was, and this journey started quite a while earlier, it would be fair to say. But in order to be someone you've never been before, you have to do things you've never done. And it was that internal dialogue of wanting to stay safe. And there's a difference between playing it safe and playing to win. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean to be reckless, but I did engineer the risk into the decision. You know, it wasn't just here's my blind hope and I hope it works out. You know, there was a methodology to my madness behind it, just so as not to make anybody listening think they can just, you know, leap and look later. You know, there was a little bit of context and analyzing and assessing went into it, but nonetheless, looking back at it, I didn't realize what a pressure I put on myself, and I didn't realize, I guess, the full scope and magnitude of what I had just embarked on. But yeah, it paid off in the relative short term, but you know, still ongoing, still work in progress, still working very hard.
I have a question. Okay, because I know that you said that you went out to the car and you,
Yes.
and by the way, side note, I don't advise anyone to ever do that.
No.
Okay, this is not typically what we would suggest if you want to join London Real Academy, not to use your last dime. I highly recommend people to never do that. Okay, because it is such a big gamble. Okay,
Yeah.
But for you, it paid off. So, I mean, it's already paid off for someone. So the odds are not in your favor. Okay, so don't do that. But it did pay off for you. And so, and you said you went back inside and your partner's like, let's go get groceries. And you're like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. How did she respond when you told her that you spent your last money to join London Real Academy? How'd you handle that?
I can imagine that.
Because as a woman, I want to know.
Yeah. Look, I had made a couple of decisions at that stage. One, and I know this sounds very harsh, and it's going to probably come across wrong, but I'm here in this world to make me happy, number one, and everybody else takes a ticket and goes second, third, fifth. It's me first, my son next, and everybody else goes after that. Now, it's not that I don't care about my partner, but I made it very clear when I was going over to assess the different options that were there, that my happiness wasn't externalized outside of me to be in a relationship to keep her happy so that I'm happy. You know, we have a very good dialogue and communication in the sense of she does her thing, I do my thing. And I think that's what made it work. You know, she looked at me and she goes, okay, you have to do this for yourself. It's either going to work or it's not. I support you, probably until you mess up, and then I won't. I don't know. No, but you know, she said, I support you, and she did. And she was very supportive. And it would be very, I guess, negligent of me to also say that that it was great to have her by my side when certain other elements got very difficult. She was a very good help, you know, and I think we work well as a team, and that's what has got us this far. But this far has also been, you know, with great positioning comes great sacrifice. I spent quite a large deal of time away from my son during that period, far more than I ever expected, and I could never have imagined that I'd have been able to do that and go through that. So again, it happened for a reason, and it taught me some things about my own inner strength to go through that and to develop as a person and develop that relationship with my partner to where it is now. And then that allowed for the trade-off, which is since August, I'm back in Ireland and she's still in Australia. And now we're doing the reverse around of the distance. And now we're going through that, you know. So I think had it not been for that unorthodox, highly unrecommended, weird, wacky gamble, and it going the way it went for us, we wouldn't have forged the relationship that we have now either, you know. So that kind of put the cherry on that, and here we are.
Well, that's really sweet, actually, yes. Because, you know, it takes a person, either male or female, or masculine or feminine energy, to just go, okay, well, I trust your judgment and I'm going to support that, you know?
Yeah. And it was also, we did a lot of firsts for each other. You know, it would be fair to say, without diverting too much into relationships, but your relationships are often reflected in your mindset. And my mindset as a human being prior to my son being born, I was a very different person. Ergo, the relationships I was in then, you know, I've got an ex-wife and an ex-partner who's my son's mother, you know, I have more holes in me than Swiss cheese. But the relationships that I was in by default were that of a different mindset and a different pattern. So I think because we were both on that transformational journey, you could say, at the
Yeah.
right time, it allowed for us to build a completely different style of relationship than what we were used to. And I think when you're not in a relationship with the best foot forward, with an expectation to fill in the blanks of keeping someone else happy, it allows you to be you. And whether that's right or wrong becomes perhaps issue 50 down the list, but at least everybody knows where they stand. And with that done, it's allowed for a strong foundation to be able to navigate the indifferences or the challenges that we've gone through.
Wow.
That's very important.
Hang on a second, you guys. Now keep ask another question. I just dropped something. So
Yeah.
pick it
Okay,
up.
so
But
yeah,
go ahead.
Kaylin, so I know you said earlier that you saw the video of Brian Rose and then make you want to do it. What exactly you was looking before you find that video?
In terms of video, I wasn't looking for anything. I was sat down in the lobby,
Right.
kind of going, oh man, what the hell am I doing with my life? You know, I knew for quite a long period of time that I was dying on the inside. I was not happy by any stretch. I had really fallen into a rut of survival, and I was living a quiet life of desperation. And I'd become somebody I didn't recognize in a lot of ways, like, you know, the kind of happy, jovial spark that I would have been known for having. I'm a bit mischievous and, you know, cheeky and funny. You know, that was gone for a long time because yeah, kind of don't really know when it went, but you just realize one day it's gone. So I was figuring out myself, how do I get it back? And that required processing a lot of things from my past. And you know, that was a heavy journey to go on, which was my past, and looking at, well, yes, I might have legitimate reasons to be angry or to have grievance towards people, and there's things that have happened that are unfair and that I should never have gone through. But then as you get older and you meet people, you learn everybody has a story like that. And I learned the lesson that I had a choice in how I responded to these events. So that led me to assessing my behavior, and that brought me to researching. I did a lot of reading, Dostoevsky, Viktor Frankl, you know, Man in Search of Meaning, Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life. And I went down that road. And that's what at least had it on my radar of, I'm going to say, personal development. So literally, I was sat in the lobby going, okay, I need to ground myself in this thought process. YouTube, quick distraction. And I just saw the clip. I think it was like titled "The Hardest Motherfucker on Planet Earth" or something like that. So I was like, oh, okay. Let's just see what that's about. You know, I knew London Real and I knew Brian. I was like, let's see. And just as I heard it, the story unfold and the mindset, I was able to relate to it. You know, I was reading the comments and I could read how people were not understanding the mindset or the methodology or even the crassness or the bluntness of some of the ways of conveying the message. And for me, it just made 100% sense. So I was like, okay, this process clearly works. Success leaves clues. Repeat the process, go. And sounds simple, but that's all it was. And that's what led me to it.
So right there and there was like boop, like the light coming to you and say, I'm doing it, and you put your risk, the whole entire thing, and you said this is gonna happen.
Yeah, it was like that. It was I don't think I knew fully at the time as it developed why I was doing it. I can look back now and I understand a lot more why I did it. It was like a way of righting a lot of wrongs with myself, with my inner sense, with my spirit, for want of a word. I had to do that journey. I had to prove something to myself and nobody else. And I also think that's what allowed me to finish it, because never at any stage did I say I was going to give up or quit or stop. And I'm not saying that in the whole I'm so good, but it was, I didn't know how I was going to carry it out. I really didn't. I'd set this enormous task and bit off more than I could chew. But because it was for me, if you're doing it for glory or if you're doing it to impress people, I wouldn't have been able to carry myself through 2:00 in the morning in the rain, with only 2 people there to help crew, and it's miserable, or out on the coast with the wind blowing in against me and, heavy head on rain. If you're not, motivation's one thing, but you need drive to burst through those adversities. And to people that might not understand what I'm trying to say, it sounds like all you're doing is running. But there was so much more built into it. And my sense of self was built into it, the sense of accomplishment that I got when I finished it. And I finished this after quite a turbulent experience of the various things I experienced throughout those 8 weeks as well, which involved severing some friendships even, and relationships, or not getting the support I thought I'd get and help, and having more work to do. So I ended up pretty much working during it as well. I was physically very bad. I had concussion from the first run. I was not good. I lost 17 kilograms, so about 40 pounds in 8 weeks. And, and again, nothing would have gotten me through that if I wasn't driven. So when I got to the end, and it was like 6:30 in the morning, and there was this woman that used to show up at 3 a.m. and she'd run with me for the last couple of hours. And we'd built up quite a bit of a rapport at this stage, and even I caught up with her for a coffee about 3 weeks ago, and she asked me a question about why I stopped somewhere. And I explained to her why I stopped at a particular house. And when I explained that story to her, she went, I understand now. She goes, you just had this, I could see this thing lifted off of your shoulders. And I think that then was like the next bump. The first one was deciding to do it. And when I finished it, it was the next one. And again, the drive to change life, to provide a better future for my son. If it wasn't coming from there, I would never have seen it through. And then, the mindset, and that's what's brought me to where I am now, I guess.
So I gotta say, I totally understand where you're coming from. If I can go back to the London Real thing really briefly, is because when I saw it, it just happened at a time in my life where I was looking for the next thing that could propel me towards my goal of speaking out on female veterans issues. And so I thought, okay, I want to be, I haven't done any speaking since college, and I want to refresh those skills. So let me figure out what the next thing I can do to improve those skills. And as luck would have it, I saw a commercial on YouTube for Brian's Speak to Inspire course. And I decided at that moment, I'm doing this. This is what it is. And it actually is a lot similar to you. Whereas I was actually not in a very good space in my life. That I was working my way through it. However, but it came at the right moment, and it was something innately I knew that I had to do. And I knew it was the right call. I knew it was the option. I knew it was the thing, and I did not hesitate. I just pulled the trigger. So I completely identify with the feeling that you had, that you're like, okay, I'm going to roll the dice on this and pay that money and just see where it takes me. And I'm just going to have faith that it's going to work out. And you know what? I have been doing speaking events even during COVID all year. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm already booking for next year. So it's amazing. And then of course the podcast came when I was looking for a way to like really get my name out there so people would want to invite me to speak. Right.
Right.
And the podcast. And then yet again, another commercial for Brian Rose talking about his podcasting course. And I was like, that's it. And I never wanted to do a podcast before that. I didn't listen to them. I listened to Jordan Harbinger. That's it. and not even regularly. I would like sometimes binge his episodes when I was cleaning, but yeah, I just felt that in that moment, in both of those instances, that it was the right call, and to race and go for it has paid off for me. I mean, of course, I'm part of the London Real team now. Never expected that.
Kia?
So, and Angeline.
I'm free. You guys,
So,
Kia.
I think there's a tech issue.
It's a tech issue. I can't hear anything what you just said. Keelan,
And
do you
yeah, I'm
hear me?
here. I hear you, but I don't hear Kia.
So I think I'm gonna remove her for her to come in again. Yeah, let's see.
And then there were two.
So that happens to me a little bit too. I was like you said, I was kind of like flying low
Yeah,
and not very happy. A lot of
there's an
issues.
interest. Uh, Sorry, there was a lag. I didn't mean to cut in on you.
That's fine. Like it was like a lot of like I want to do something, but I didn't know what I want to do. And like you said, I was in the sofa one day on a Sunday. I remember like today on a Sunday, and I saw the video of Brian Rose about broadcast yourself, and then
Hmm.
how you can tell your story from a podcast. And I said, oh my God, because I do have a very cool story. I was kidnapped in my country for 3 months and held in captivity for 90 days. So I said, oh my God, this is so cool because then I can tell my story through this. And that day I call, that day I pay. I always skeptical to pay things in advance. And that day I put the
Hmm.
money down, boom. And I can't wait for that to start. And I feel in the beginning I was gonna be the number one, the best, and I'm gonna work my butt off on this to be able to be whatever God want me to be.
Yeah.
And I remember finishing broadcast yourself with 25 episodes in my podcast.
Wow, that's very good going. Congratulations. But
And
you know,
and since that I don't stop broadcasting. I have every week I interview people every single week.
and it opens up doors and opportunities because I've come across a lot of people, and it's a whole other conversation to have, and I'm not going to get into it. But you have the people that have this reluctancy or this skepticism towards taking those kinds of actions and steps. And I do understand that. You have to vet your decisions, look at the outcome you wish to get out of it, and then go, is this for me or is it not? But the lesson that
Exactly.
I learned, and the lesson that I'm sure you'd agree with, is things might not go the way you plan initially, but by taking action, you start to discover yourself, your sense of why, and this how unfolds itself. And it's probably nothing like how you would imagine if you would have done all the engineer mind, analytical risk assessment, end up paralysis by analysis and never changing anything, and then complaining a year later that you're still in the same place, doing the same thing, probably while expecting a different result. And that's the thing I try to get across to people is, look, I'm not saying if you come and you hire me to do something that I'm going to fix your life problems, or if you go to you or Kia or London Real, but by creating that decision to do something different, to take that determined, immediate, dramatic, drastic action, it puts you in a headspace that allows you to, I guess, disconnect from the old and the patterns that we typically repeat that keep us stuck, and take that step back and allow for those new things to come in. And that's the significant part of the action taking process. And I think a lot of people miss it. So indeed, never roll the whole dice on, this course is going to fix my life. And I say that not just with online courses, but I say that with colleges. We think, oh, if I get that job, it's going to fix everything. Or if I marry that person, it's going to tick the box and it's going to fix everything. Or get that house. It's that kind of a mentality, and that will, by default, almost lead you down the path of failure. But recognizing, well, what can I afford to lose? I can lose this. Okay, what could I gain? And does this line up with this inner dialogue of my honest sense of self-assessment? Yes. Does this work within that? Yes. Okay, I'll do it. And you don't know what's going to happen, but it's a lot better than staying in that place. But you have to have that frank and honest conversation before you go down those roads.
Yeah, I have another story to you, like very powerful too, because this happens to me not too often, but like 2 or 3 times in my life. But the other one was when I was living in my country, and I decided to come to this country. My father didn't want to support me in anything, zero, 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 zero. So I came to this country with only $500 in my pocket and resigned to everything, like the house, everything, my nanny, everything, and go and leave and come to this country with nothing. So
Wow.
from one day I was with everything, and the very next day I was with nothing. And when I feel nothing, I feel free. And I was so happy. And I remember, like, I don't care, I don't know what I'm here, but something I'm going to do here. And the very next day, I was working here in the United States. The very next day. And without papers, like like whatever. I came, and the next day, I was working 23 years ago. So it takes like a risk. Oh, me, I will probably stay there and have everything. No, I have everything secure for me, but it was not me. I need to prove myself who I am. So that's why I did that decision. I'm gone. Bye. I don't need anything from anybody. Bye.
Yeah.
And see where I am now.
But the key thing there that I heard from it, and the reason I picked up on it, is because I identified it to myself, and I think this is something that anybody could recognize, is you realize that it was you had to do it. You didn't want anything from anyone else, and that sense of freedom came from that, because we spend a lot of our time, I don't know, working a job we don't like to earn money to keep other people happy, and that's not in line with making us happy. So when you made that decision, even though from the outside you had a lot less, you had a lot more in here, and that's what allowed you to create this mindset that has you where you are now.
Totally. And I look back and I said, wow, how I did that.
Yeah. I've had a few of those moments. You look back and you're like, oh my God. It's like kind of two things. One, oh, that was nearly reckless and negligent. And then two, but well done, because I did it. And it's good to do that as well. We're very hard on ourselves, and our biased decision making revolves on negativity. And that's how we're programmed from survival to carry out, running from the predators. We didn't stop up to look at the sunshine, we were surviving. Right. But we have to learn, and I have found it's very important to take that step and acknowledge, hey, I got that right, and I did that. Especially when we could be honest and go, and I was shit scared, and it was a mountain, and I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I did it. And that's not arrogance, that's not self-praise, there's no praise. It's good to do that, because that's the other part of having an honest dialogue, and it allows us to assess things and look at the next venture.
I know exactly the emotion that you're talking about. Like when you go in something that you have the adrenaline of, okay, I'm going to keep going, right? But at the same time, oh my God, let's see what this shit is going to happen,
Yeah. Like, what's that story? Where the expression comes from, burn the ships, there's no going back. Like, people also forget the other part of the story, that before they decided to do that, they had a full recce done. They knew who their allies were, where supplies were. So yes, they burnt the ships. Yes, they were not going back. But the other half of that story is there's a degree of planning that goes into it. So I think with character types like you and I, and this goes for anybody, by the way. Um, there's a story about a dog lying on a porch and the dog is groaning, and a guy asks, "Oh, why is the dog groaning?" And he's, the grandfather says, "Oh, it's because he's lying on a nail." Okay, why didn't he get off the nail? Well, kind of like people in life, it's uncomfortable, but it's not so uncomfortable that he's moving. Well, it's kind of like us. Yes, things cannot be ideal,
Right.
but if we're not pushed, or at least push ourselves, we don't necessarily have that drive to create those changes. And by the sound of your story, which sounds insane in of itself, and definitely looking at mine, it's when you're living a life that's not meant for you, and you realize that, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to go anywhere. It's like you literally feel like my mental, physical, emotional health, it's all in question. What do I do? Maybe it's not that dramatic. I don't know. I don't know you, obviously, but when you're that way and you're like, no, I just can't do this for whatever reason, then you at least bulletproof the mindset of being able to go and take the actions needed to change. And I don't know, obviously, your personal circumstances, but for me, my son being born was a huge, huge, huge factor in that. And if you look at the science behind it, it makes sense why, because a level of maturity doesn't occur in men until their later 20s or early 30s, whereas women have that much earlier on. Hence why you have this thing that women are more mature than men for at least the most part. And the other studies in psychology have actually shown how when certain traumas occur, some men never mature at all. And that can also be said for women, but I know it all from the experience and the point of view of the men, and reading social studies based on why certain behaviors happen. So I think when the child is born, and this is linked to, this is why I think women take on challenges sometimes in a more definite way, because it comes from that parental instinct of, we don't have time to mess around here. We got to get this done. It's got to be done. We got to do it. There's no other options. Whereas men don't necessarily have that. I think if I look back with hindsight, that really got activated when my son was born. He was like 3 minutes old. I was holding him in my arms and I went, oh my God. The question, growing up, did I want to be like my parents? No.
No. The better
Do I?
version. The better
Do I?
version.
Well, yeah, a much better version. But
Much
then the
better.
next question, the next question is,
Means your version is not good.
But yeah, absolutely. It's like, because the next question was, do I want my son to grow up to be like me? And the honest answer at that moment in time is no. And that's the one we don't want to ask ourselves. Whereas I think I've seen, my experience watching has been that moms are very, very quicker to be honest and hard on themselves and the decisions that need to be made to carry that task through.
I remember when I had my daughter, because I did have her very, very young. I was 21 when I have her. She's 26 right now. I'm 48. I'm 48. And I always say, you know what? I'm gonna make that girl to make me proud. Not in how you said, in a mean way, or because it's me. No, it's because when she grow, I'm gonna do the good job with that girl, that when she grow, I have, like, I can say, oh my God, yes.
I got it
sleep,
right.
I sleep in some areas, but in this area, the principles and the talking about the truth and be honest all the time, and work and have a good heart, have good intentions and stuff, that for me is very important. If the jobs, the careers and that, you know what, I don't care about that, because that's not my path, it's their path. But
Yeah.
in the order about essence, about principles, about the person, I want to be like the husband of my daughter, saying, "Oh my God, ma'am, thank you for your daughter because she's great." And there I said, "Oh my God, I did my job."
Yeah, no, I can relate to that, because so many parents try to live vicariously through their children, and that's a huge mistake as well.
Oh, totally.
I've always said that I just want to raise my son with the best morals and ethics that at least I can acquire in the world. And who knows, in another 50 years, what we think is right and wrong now could change dramatically. Once upon a time, they prescribed cigarettes to pregnant women. The world moves on, it changes.
Right.
But as long as they're happy, and the first 7 years of life is what builds that self-esteem, and you can't go anywhere in this world without self-esteem.
Exactly.
And I've watched people have it broken down, ripped away, taken away, or never given to them, because I've seen parents, and it's sad to see or experience, their fears and inhibitions are projected onto their kids, and you see the children having these big massive dreams, but the limitations are put on them, and they never exercise them. So that's always been my ideology, and I'm sure I'll fail, as we all do as parents.
Me too. I fail many things.
Yeah, but that's the aim, at least, and so I resonate to that with what you said, and that's I know that's the best we can do, and shoot for the moon. For if you fail, you land among the stars. It's that kind of an idea. At least it's better than survival and going, okay, I work 9 to 5, I earn $400 and tick the box, and I'm going to pretend to be happy while secretly I'm dying on the inside, and I'm going to take it out on everybody. At least if we don't do that for ourselves, and that's back to my point earlier about I sound very selfish, but I'm here for me. I learned the hard way. If I don't look after me, I cannot look after anyone else. Family, friend, child, colleague, co-worker, it doesn't matter who. And that's the best example you can set for your children, because they're not going to do what we tell them. They're going to do what they watch us do at the end of the day.
So Keelan, tell what exactly people reach up to you and how you can help those people.
So my business side of stuff is a digital agency. So we build web pages, we do video editing, post-production, copywriting, audio, graphics. So the main clientele that we work with are people that are transitioning online and perhaps don't want to be doing all that work themselves. They have a busy offline business already. It's a transition that they know is going to be complementary to their business, and they just want to go, look, this is my business. We'll sit down. I've got a work scope for them. I figure it out. We see what we can do. We price the job accordingly, and we go, okay, I'm going to do this, and this. Bang, let's go do it. Now, there's been some interesting pivots off of having those services. I mean, I've met people with martial arts schools. I've met lawyers, judges, and everything in between, so it's an interesting process that way. But as such, you want it online, we can put it online.
So a person that don't want, because there's all kind of people. So the people that wants to be online, but they don't want to deal with the creation of anything. So that's the people they can contact you. They give you the idea and you propose the idea.
Yeah, so we'll do a number of sessions. My main thing that I try and dial in on and get out of the person is their brand, their ideology, the essence, the personality of it, the ikigai, the why, the what, the how. But without going too much into it, there's such a specific way to build that funnel and the onboarding of an individual from the time that they see an ad to understanding, well, what value does this man, woman, brand, product give to me? There's a whole art and a skill into creating that connection, so that from social media to an ad to a web page, that there's no disconnect, and it's that it converts properly, and looking at that data and the analytics and knowing who the audience is and how to best target them for the maximum results of, well, and that's obviously what any business is trying to do, is they're trying to get the best results they can for their business. So that's what we do. Then I have my podcast myself, as you know, which I thoroughly enjoy, because podcasting connects you with people and brings you all over the world again, and all of this came from podcasting as well. I'd like to remind people, because I started podcasting a couple of weeks before the idea of doing the venture with London Real. So the podcast was in my head anyway, because I enjoyed the connecting with people and having a conversation like this. You'll have to forgive me because I'm absolutely wrecked tired from 2 long days of work where I've had 4 hours sleep in 2 days. But I enjoy these conversations because you never know what they lead to. Or somebody messages you afterwards and they're like, hey, this thing really helped. Or can you say more about it? And then before you know it, because this is how this happened for me. I'm going through a process right now with a client, and it's a very high profile thing, and it came with a lot of controversy and everything. But if I hadn't started my podcast, I wouldn't be doing it. And in that chapter in of itself has been another big pivot that's changed a lot of my life again, So it all came from podcasting. You never know who you meet and what happens from a conversation.
Exactly. The time is perfect for everything that you do in life. So I'm like that. I'm podcast. Where's gonna be my goal? I don't know. I'm not in that rush. I just wanna live my life, heal, and help other people to get better. And like you said, one day it's gonna open the door that I never even imagined. Like it opens for you.
Absolutely. And I think the variable then for people is how well you handle pressure. If there's a responsible way to do things, new ventures, especially when you're a bit later in life. There's a difference between being 18, for example, and
right.
Throwing all your eggs in a basket, and being maybe 35 and having children and needing to think about some broader things like the mortgage or the car payment, which are other situations to consider. But it's not to say don't do it. I really am a firm believer that anything you think you should do, it's worth doing badly than not doing it, because however it goes, you will learn from the experience. You will carry it through. Otherwise, you end up being one of those people, and we all know them. They're in a pub or a bar 20 years later talking about that one touchdown they made in high school 17 years earlier, and that they're going to do something, and they never get around to doing it. And I'm not having a go at those people, but it's sad to see, because we talk ourselves into that. That's why we stay in places like relationships or countries or communities that we know we shouldn't be in, because right or wrong doesn't matter. It doesn't fulfill us. You need to go and find what's meant for you. And if that's the USA, if that's Belarus, Australia, I don't know, Sweden, but go do it. And if it's yodeling in the mountains of Austria, go yodel. If it's setting up a digital agency, go set it up. But it's just such a tragedy that we see that the risk averse versions of us keep us in that safety zone, and then the dreams die.
I had a conversation yesterday with one of my friends, and she said, we were joking. She said, I know you want to be a model, but you're getting too old to be a model. I said, no, I'm not getting too old to be a model. I don't care. Maybe when I'm 80 years old, I'm going to be in the magazine of any of those magazines. And we laugh about it. And I said, you know why? Because if I still modern at 80, that means I live a lot before. So,
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I'd be a firm believer that I don't think it's ever too late to do something either. It's just your area becomes slightly more specialized or different, or
exactly.
And it's just a matter of that perspective. And I'm not even saying that to be kind, but what I'm trying to say is, the kind of life you could go on. Say you became a model when you're 30. I'm just going to say that. You probably wouldn't be here now.
I became a mother when I'm 50. And, the new 50 is the new 30s.
Yeah, but that's my point. All the thing you've managed to do between now and then is huge, And then you go and you do that. And then you'll open up a whole other door. People are like, wow, you're doing that? Or you give me the strength or the courage or the bravery to, maybe I'll be a model, and then you're setting that example, and somebody else has a completely different door open. So again, it leads back to an old expression: what's meant for you does not pass you by.
Exactly. That's what I hear this morning in a song that I was listening, a salsa song. I like to listen to salsa where I'm cooking, and I listen to that expression you just said.
I'm a big fan of expressions, and sayings, simply because they've been around for so long, and there's a value in it. And I go one step further. I've read a lot of religious scriptures as well, many different
Kia's
kinds.
here. Kia is
Ah,
here.
she's back.
She's back.
Yes.
Yay!
I made it, you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Perfecto.
you came out the trenches and out the other side.
Okay. You know what? I am mission oriented, so I get the
Yeah.
job done. I don't give up.
Yeah.
No, we
Good,
don't.
good. Stay focused. Stay focused. I just want to finish one thing, contextualizing, in case people are wondering, hey, he reads all religious scriptures, just in relation to sayings, because whether you believe in them or not, there's a nugget of information in them that's important, because the story is there for so long. And hence why I
Yes.
like expressions, because they're there for a long time and there's value in the wording. So I just wanted to put context into that before we move on.
So Kia, we miss you.
I miss
Yeah,
you
we're
guys
done.
too.
I'm
I
going
have-
home. See ya. Bye.
I have no idea what happened there, but I'm back. And
We have 11 minutes for you.
we have 11 minutes left for me, which I'm really excited about because I had a question. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a question.
You had a question. You took
I had
a
a
long
question.
time to think of it.
Yeah, I had to really get it clear. Okay.
Yeah.
So before we parted ways unexpectedly, I had been listening to you talk about your races and you're working so hard and building your stamina up for that.
Oh, yeah.
So my question for you is, how do you prepare to have the correct mindset in order to do such an endurance race?
I think my severe underestimation of the situation, stupidity, naivety, and lack of preparation is what helped me a lot. So, it's funny because I look back on some of the things, and particularly the running, and when I recall and say some of the words out loud of what I did, how I did it, even I hear it and go, it sounds like you're making it up. It's like, So for me, I prepared as best as I could, but I decided it on the 22nd of April and I started on the 9th of September. I did not run more than 40 miles in one go up until that point. 40 or maybe 60. I think it was 60. Yeah, it was. I think I did 160 mile but there's a big difference between 60 and 100 miles. There's a whole 40 miles in there. There's a whole marathon and then some. And I definitely wasn't conditioned to do it. And I knew that as well. I mean, there's athletes, and I don't profess to be a runner even now, nor did I at the time. But it taught me the power of the mind. So that carried me through, and ignorance, and a lot of fizzle jellies, and some Lucasade. I mean, like, I would rock up in some of the mornings and I'd be eating a packet of crisps and having some fizzle jellies. And I remember, like, some of the photographers were like, one guy who was like a nutritionist, he was like, "Are you for fucking real? Is this what you're doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, if it works, And when I did it, but I have no idea either. It's like I did not prepare the way an athlete should prepare. I did not fuel the way an athlete should fuel. I learned a lot though, and I learned very quickly. And I do think that was reflected in me being able to carry it out, because I was banged up so bad after the first one that I didn't even know when it came to the second one. I wasn't able to walk up until 2 days beforehand. I still wasn't walking. I still had to be helped out of bed. And, I mean, nobody believed that I was going to be able to run the second one. And here are the things that sound insane when I say this. Even I say this and go, okay, did I really do that? When I started running on the second week, after the first 500 meters, I had tears streaming down my face. And I was like, oh my God, the inflammation in my instep was absolutely brutal. Now, here's the sentence that even I'm astounded by when I say it. It's like, after 40 miles, I warmed up and I settled down. And then I was able to finish the rest of the day out. And I actually felt okay after that. And when I did the second one, I was like, okay, I think I can do the rest. If my body holds up, I'll manage to push through. I think the weight loss occurred. I did start to educate myself quickly. I found better runners. I blister patched up. I found ASOS cycling cream, which was like, oh, fantastic to find that. It was like finding water in the desert, for blisters and everything. Um, it was a transformative number of weeks, and again, back to necessity. You learn a lot in a short space of time, and you have to do it. And again, back to the point before we cut out, that internal drive of I have to do this for myself and nobody else carried me through. I think if I'd have been doing it for any other reason, oh man, there was a couple of moments that were just so beyond miserable. Yeah, I would have just thrown the towel if it wasn't coming from that sense of self, So yeah, that's how you prepare. Prepare by not preparing.
It was the organic version.
Yeah, if ever you hear of the whole trial and error method, that was it, because after the first one, I was like, what have I done? I said, I'm going to do another 8 of these. What have I done? And as well, you've said it. It's out there. It's in the public domain. People are watching. Nobody said I could do it, which I understand why. I mean, I came from a background of weightlifting, not running. So I get it. I never took that to heart. And then you did the first one, and then people are like, oh, okay. And then they're ready for the second one. And there's also that other battle where you're like, I can't give in now. I can't stop. So I think my ignorance was a blessing in disguise at that stage.
I can just imagine that. So one more question for you before we're going to wrap it up, since
Sure.
I missed some time. What advice would you give for people who have, a challenge ahead of them to, focus and get prepared and get through it?
Very simply, just let me clean up the language in what I'm about to say. Just don't care what anybody thinks. Just don't. And I'm not saying that to be flippant, nor for anybody with sensitive feelings that might be listening. I'm not saying that I don't care about people, full stop. But if you give your energy towards that, and that's what we do as people a lot. How am I going to come across? How do I look? How do I dress? Am I impressing that person? Whatever it is. So whatever the challenge is, changing job, divorcing, because that's a challenge. That's a big one as well. It's a decision.
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
just start. Yeah. Oh yeah. But just don't care what other people think, because if I look at all the mistakes that I've made as a human being, I made a lot of them because I was hung up on what people think. And if I think about a lot of the things that I didn't do, it's because I was hung up on the idea of the backlash of what other people think. And I was having that conversation because that question got asked to me by somebody recently that I'm doing work for, and they asked the question, why did you do this for me? Because it came with a bit of backlash. And again, I did it because it was the right thing and not because I cared what other people think. If I'd have sat down and risk assessed what other people think, it was like commercial suicide, But again, with great positioning comes great sacrifice. That's the marketing term I use. If you want to set up a campaign that's going to keep Democrats happy, well, you sure as hell won't keep the Republicans happy. And if you do it for the Republicans, you're not going to keep the Democrats happy. It's a trade-off. You can't escape it. Same with marketing your company. With one comes the other. And I think when you're true to you, whether people believe it or not, or whether they believe you literally or believe in your cause or your mindset, if you and you're authentic, you'll get rid of the noise and what's not meant for you. And that can be hard because that can be people sometimes.
Yes.
And it's sad to say, but it's true. And to go against that dominant thinking of your close family, friends, colleagues, it's hard. But I promise you, I don't know when, at some stage, you will step into what's meant for you in terms of people, circumstances, and mindsets. And I think for people, if they can get through that first initial hurdle to block out the noise and what people think and get that first reward for that brave step, it has an oscillating effect, and then it starts to accumulate. And then before you know it, you're in Australia or you're in another place or whatever. But and then life is not how it once was. And let me also just say one more thing, which is it comes with costs, and I don't think there's an escape of that. So, people look now and they see the 3-piece suit, and they, if you look online, you'll see the various things about me and what I'm involved in, etc. And it does have its cost. Not everything is as rosy as it appears on the outside. That doesn't mean it's bad, but what I'm trying to say is, I'm meeting people now that I only dreamed of meeting. Well-connected people. I won't do the name dropping thing, but I had a conversation with one of them last week, and he was like, one of his students started to get the calls where they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually talking to you." And the student's like, "Well, I'm just me," and I had to stop and say to him, and this guy's very well known. I was like, "Well, you have to remember this is that it's the same perspective. You still feel the same way, and you've got like, I don't know, 30 million Instagram followers, and you're like, well, I'm just me, it makes no difference." And that's perspective. And I think seeing that early on also carried over, and I think it keeps you humble, also makes you realize they're human, you're human, ergo you can do it too, and the whole mindset comes together. So, just if you don't care what people think, the right things go out of your life and the better things come into your life.
I agree with that. Imagine, Kia, you and me worry about what people think how many times we marry.
or doing these shows that we do.
Exactly.
Yeah. How we come across or whatever. We don't care. We just do what we think is right and fun. And there it is.
And that's all you can do. And I'd like to just say one last thing in that closing, just quickly, for anybody listening that took something from that. If you've got something, just do it, just pull the trigger and do it, because it'll probably go badly. It'll probably not go the way you want. I mean, we'll pick this up on maybe another show, but like, if I would have sat down and written out the bad parts of everything I went through, oh my God, I wouldn't have gotten out of bed. I'd be like, no, I'm just going to stay here. It's safe. It's comfortable. And you talk yourself into it. But when I connect with people, and that's the most authentic thing you're going to have, is the connection with people, like connecting with you guys here now, etc., and the other people in our mutual groups of friends. It is worth it, because now I do get to go on a plane. I get to go to Sweden or Abu Dhabi or Dubai or Switzerland or France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Holland, the places, or the other people that we've met, Gia, and you meet them, and then it's like, oh, there's this person, and they're not on the other side of a screen, and they're a real human. And then that goes to another place, and then before you know it, whatever was your worry a year ago with whoever people, that's not relevant when you're in those places with those new people. And you don't get a rehearsal in life, so just go and do the right thing that's meant for you.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I love that so much.
I love that too.
Before we part ways, Keelan, tell us where we can find you. That's right, Gloria, and how you can help anyone who's interested.
You can find me by simply searching either my name. It comes up on Google now, would you believe? Or Going the Ultra Mile. It's on all platforms, and the webpage is the same. So it's very simple to find. Drop me a line, drop me a message. If we connect and there's a way in which something happens, cool. And if not, maybe we'll just have a talk, and then some seed gets sown, and next year I'll be knocking on your door. I'll be saying, hey, I'm the guy you messaged, and then we'll go have an adventure.
There you go.
Oh, I love an adventure.
Of course. Bye, Kia. We have
Absolutely.
A lot of pending adventures.
Oh, yeah. We had a big one in London. We're like those people we were talking about. We met on the other side of a screen, and 2 months later, we met face to face in a little diner in London and had breakfast together. And it was as if we were friends forever. Actually, we slept in the same room that night. Yeah. Every night for the next 5 days. We ran around London having the best time. So it's not impossible. And it's a beautiful thing, especially during COVID, that we have the opportunity to connect via technology. Because I mean, when they had the Spanish flu, what were they doing? They barely had phones. right?
No,
So we
they
so
was
we
counting the chickens.
right?
Yeah.
So we are very lucky, and it's been an honor to have you on today, Keelan. It's always fun to talk to you and to see what
Yes,
you're up
very
to.
powerful.
Yes, your message is incredible, and we hope that you'll come back so I can ask you more questions. And thank you again for coming.
Yeah, listen, thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it. And if I can be of any help to anyone, yourselves included, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much to be in Hot Topics.
Awesome.
It was an honor. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye, honey. Ooh,
Wow, that was awesome. Very
I knew you
powerful.
were
I
gonna
love
love
the
that story.
energy. I love
Yes.
people like that. Like, who cares? Let's do it.
Hmm. Yeah, he's definitely a go-getter, and I love to be in that energy. So
Yeah,
it's always great to see what he's up to and to see, what moves he's making because he's always making moves. So it's a wonderful thing.
awesome.
And I'm so glad he got to be a guest. And of course, we're going to have him back because I had like a bunch more questions that I didn't get
Yeah,
to
you
ask.
messed up a lot. Yes, of
So
course. We
I'm
have
going
to.
to have to watch this episode and see what I missed. But you know what they say? I happen to believe when I have technical issues that there's like an energetic shift around me. So I'm gonna wait and see what manifested from that one because
But
that's what always happens.
I know what I manifested. You have the turkey in the oven.
I wish, girl, I wish. Okay. We're not even gonna go into my Thanksgiving issues that I'm having this year, but it's all gonna come together. It will.
Yeah, I will, of course.
Always
If
does.
not, there's always stores open.
Yeah. I mean, it might be takeout. No, I'm just kidding. I'm about to start cooking right now.
Me too. I need to keep going. Let's wrap it up.
All right, my love. Well, you guys, thank you for being here with us today and spending an hour and 15 minutes of your life with us. We do like to try to keep it around an hour and 11 minutes, but sometimes we go longer. And if you're okay with that, we're certainly okay with that because we do what we want. And we want to thank you for giving us your time. It does matter to us. It means a lot. And set your notifications so you can know when we come live. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Kia Baker, the host of the Female Veterans Podcast, Women Warrior Stories, and Success Coach at London Real Academy. That's right. And I am joined, as always, by my beautiful enchantress, goddess, queen of all the beautiful souls. She's a guru. She's a light worker. She's an artist. She's an expert piano player. She sings. She dances. She cooks. She's an empress. And her name is Gloria Goldberg.
Thank you, my dear, with all that, about me, all the titles. Well, you guys know my name is Gloria Goldberg, the founder of the podcast Unbreakable Life with Glory. We'll talk about depression, anxiety, PTSD, in a natural way, in a holistic way to always make you feel better. And also the host and the founder of the bilingual show, The Gloria. We'll talk about depression, anxiety, PTSD in a very spiritual way, in a holistic way, natural way for always make you feel better. En español, this Friday, esta viernes, en español. Y voy a traer una invitada excelente de Argentina, so don't miss it. This Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
Awesome.
With a soul guidance.
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Really
I'm so
awesome.
happy. I can't wait.
Well, if you're in the United States, happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. Enjoy your holiday. And if you're everywhere else around the world, have an amazing day. We love you guys.
Thank you to be in Hot Topics. And remember, if you watch the replay, hashtag replay and put the city and the country where you are from so we know.
Yeah.
So we know where you are from. And if you are constantly guessing our show, we probably can send you the link and maybe it could be just a quiet guest for us just to be in the show. Right?
You never know.
You never know.
Never know.
All right, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. We don't know if we're coming tomorrow. We still on the side. May not, may. We don't know, right?
We'll play it by ear. I mean, it is a holiday. We might be getting just too buck wild and celebrating to come live.
Right.
Or it might be the perfect time to come live. See what happens.
Let's see how everything goes. Anyway, guys, love you. See you. Bye bye.